Thank you for joining us for today's Fighting Hate from Home. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on today's Fighting Hate from Home. Please stay on the line. We're giving the call a moment to populate. We'll be getting started momentarily. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on today's Fighting Hate from Home. Please note that today's call will be recorded and accessible via the ADL YouTube channel. In order to maintain focus on our speakers, all participants' mics and videos have been turned off. We are pleased to offer closed captioning for this webinar. To turn your captioning on or off, please click the closed caption button at the bottom of your Zoom program screen. You can also use the up arrow next to that button to adjust the size of the captions as you need. Please also use the chat function if you would like to send a message of hope and support to our speakers. If you are joining us today from a computer, there is a chat option at the bottom of the Zoom program where you can type in your question or your comment at any time. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce ADL CEO and National Director, Jonathan Greenblatt.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for that introduction. Hello, and everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for taking time during this very busy week to join us for this incredibly important and, to be honest, painful Fighting Hate from Home. I hope that wherever you are, you're well, that you're safe, and you're taking time to take care of yourselves and your loved ones during this very difficult moment. In a moment, I will turn things over to my good friend Sheila Katz. She's CEO of the National Council of Jewish Women. NCJW is co-sponsoring this event with ADL today, along with the Israel American Council. And we are so glad, so grateful to be working together with IAC and NCJW. We'll go to Sheila in a minute. Before we do that, I want to share some thoughts. Today marks exactly 1 month since the horrible, barbaric attack. I don't want to call it an attack, the massacre committed by terrorists from Hamas in southern Israel that killed 1,400 people and still growing as of this morning. 240 some odd innocent babies and infants and boys and girls and mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandparents, including Holocaust survivors, the disabled, the handicapped, all were taken as well. And it's perhaps the largest scale kidnapping in modern times. And the fact that these people are now suffering in God knows where with God knows who, we should have them all in our prayers. And it's important to know it's not just Israelis who were kidnapped. According to the Israeli government, 138 of those hostages, almost half, have foreign passports, including 54 Thai people, 15 Argentinians, 12 Germans, 12 Americans, 6 French, and 6 Russian, as well as people from China, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and the Philippines. This really matters. This wasn't just an attack on Israel, although it was, and that would be enough. This wasn't just an attack on Jewish people, although it was, and that would be enough. This was an attack on civilization. This was an attack on humanity by a group that is so offensive and so profane, that is willing to kill and murder in support of their own nihilistic goals. And even as we deal with that nihilism and the pain, what's still happening in Israel, at home, we're contending with a dangerous wave, a historic wave of anti-Semitism and hate. It's plaguing our country like a cancer and spreading like a contagion on college campuses to our nation's capital. Yesterday in Los Angeles, and I was just there on Saturday, an elderly Jewish man was killed when a pro-Palestinian protester struck him on the head with a megaphone. We were calling on law enforcement to investigate this horrific assault as a hate crime. When you attack an elderly Jewish person and you slam them over the head with a blunt object, cause them to fall to the ground and die, and you attack them because they're holding an Israeli flag, because they are Jewish, that is a hate crime and should be investigated as such. Last Friday, a woman in Indiana crashed her car into what she thought was a Jewish school. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but she went after that building because she saw Jewish stars on it, and she said she felt impelled because of what's happening in the Middle East. And we know that same day in Amherst, Massachusetts, a college student at the University of Massachusetts was stabbed and wounded by a classmate, an individual who literally, again, enraged about what's happening in the Middle East. The idea that what's happening in the Middle East motivates people to stab or crash their car or murder someone here at home is absolutely unacceptable. We shouldn't accept it when people are generalizing against Asian Americans. We shouldn't accept it when they're generalizing against Muslim Americans, and we definitely should not accept it when they're generalizing against Jews. It is pathetic and terrible. So our hearts are broken for this elderly individual who we lost. Our hearts are wounded for the others who have been hurt. And we continue to pray every single day for the hostages and their families. And so in this moment, we need to not do more than pray. We need to mobilize, we need to unite, we need to strategize, and we need to act. Because even though it's a dark time, the light and the hope that we can generate by coming together, by working as one, by engaging with allies, can absolutely make a difference. And so with that being in mind, I want to announce something here today. ADL is joining with other national and local Jewish groups, elected officials, celebrities from Hollywood, from social, from other spheres, in organizing a national rally on the Washington Mall next week, a week from today, on Tuesday, November 14th. It will take place at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. More details will be forthcoming, but I'm proud, all of us are proud, that ADL will be there to show our full support, and we need everyone to join. Come to Washington, D.C. Come for the day. March shoulder to shoulder so we can continue our relentless call that each and every hostage be freed unconditionally and immediately. And that we show the world our collective strength, that we show the world that the kind of ugly pro-Hamas demonstrations taking place in DC and around the country, that they don't represent who we are, that we represent who we are, and that we will fight back on the anti-Semitism that seems to be surging all around us. My hope would be that this march would be similar to the 2002 rally during the Second Intifada, or the 1987 mass rally to support Soviet Jewry, where more than 100,000 people came out. We need to beat those numbers next week. So if you can come, we need you on November the 14th. If you can be here, we need you to show up. We need you to get on a train, rent a car, get in a bus, fly, whatever you got to do. We need you here on November the 14th. Lastly, before I ask you for something else, let me just say thank you. Thank you for joining us on today's call. Thank you for your leadership and your advocacy. And thank you for keeping in mind, this is November the 7th. November the 7th is the anniversary of Kristallnacht. We know what happened to the German Jewish community. We know that we said, in retrospect, never again. Never again, never is now. We need to stand up now. We need to stand with these hostages. We need to stand with the Jewish state of Israel against the anti-Semitism that threatens all of us. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass the baton to my friend and colleague, Sheila Katz, CEO of the National Council of Jewish Women.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, and Amin, to everything that you said. I'm so grateful to the ADL and to you and for your partnership. We have to be in this together. And National Council of Jewish Women will be with you in Washington, D.C. at the National Mall. I just wanted to start my remarks a bit personally, as I have been since October 7th, because it's hard not to. I am connected with 4 of the hostages, and as like so many Jews around the world, and I can't start without naming some of them and talking about them very briefly, and then saying how we're in this with the families who have joined us today. So Vivian Silver, who founded Women Wage Peace is a major partner to National Council of Jewish Women. It's not random that she lived on one of the kibbutzim. She was there helping Palestinian women get to hospitals. She was there fighting every single day for peace and for a vision of what it could look like to live in harmony. And the thought of her being a hostage right now, every day is heartbreaking. And I bring her name up as often as I can, because I want to make sure we're doing everything we can for her to come out. I'd like to think that if it were me, she would be fighting for me in this moment. And I think it's so important to recognize how many women, how many families, how many children are among those who are hostages. My best friend, Abby Owen, had 3 family members who are hostages still. Erez Calderon, who's 12, Sahar Calderon, who's 16, and Ofer Calderon, who's 53. I've been following this journey through her, and she has shared that many of the people speaking today are like family now. And while I wish nobody had to be in this together, I'm grateful that people are coming together and raising their voices every single day to release the hostages. We cannot forget about them. And I know that I'm not alone being in pain and having deeply personal connections to people who are hurting right now. And my heart is really with the families of the hostages and everyone who was killed on October 7th. There are over 200 hostages, and these are real people with stories and hopes and dreams, with loved ones fighting every minute of every single day for them to come home, because we do not have a minute to waste. We are here in solidarity with these families. We are here to fight with you, and we are here beyond the hopes and prayers to take action. 220 plus hostages is a global humanitarian crisis, and it requires a humanitarian response, and it requires a human response. And we are here as sisters, as mothers, as grandmothers, as friends, as cousins, as fathers, as brothers, as Jews, as allies, as humans, together to say that these families are not alone as we call for international pressure for the immediate release of all hostages held by Hamas, by the humanitarian aid and medical care to be provided until the hostages are released, and the enforcement of international humanitarian law. Innocent individuals ought not be used as bargaining chips for any cause or purpose. The infants, children, mothers, and elderly taken from their homes must be safely returned to their loved ones. And we do this work because we must. Releasing hostages is considered to be the greatest mitzvah. It's directly related to the ongoing responsibility to work for justice and surpasses many other critical mitzvot. It's the right thing to do, and it is the Jewish thing to do. And so to the families here, we are with you, we see you. You can get connected to NCJW's campaign, Voices for Hostages, at voicesforhostages.org. And any action you take with ADL, consider that arm in arm with NCJW. We are in this fight together. To the families, may you have the resilience to keep going, even when it feels like the arc of the moral universe is taking too long to bend towards justice. And may we remember that we are the majority, and we will bend the arc toward justice together, and we will continue doing it until all of your loved ones are home. Amen. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Deb Leipzig, the Vice President of Leadership at ADL.
Thank you, Sheila. And thank you so much for the work that you have been doing and the awareness that you have been bringing to bringing these hostages home. I see in the chat that a couple of folks have asked about the blue ribbons that you see people wearing, and that's exactly what they are. They are us remembering and asking to bring the hostages home safely. It is my honor to introduce Rachel Goldberg and John Polin, parents of 23-year-old hostage victim Hersh Goldberg-Polin. Rachel, John, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having us.
So Rachel, I'm going to start with you. I know you've told this story, and I'm sorry that we're going to ask you to please tell it again. What happened that day on October 7th?
So Hirsh was at the music festival with one of his best friends named Honor Shapira. And around 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, there was some sort of commotion going on. And the massacre started in that camping ground where there were 3,000 young people, music lovers, crunchy granola, barefoot type kids who were having a great time. And suddenly there was complete chaos and terror. So Hirsh and Honor and a couple other friends managed to escape to a car and tried driving north. But Hamas had already lined the road and was shooting at any cars that came toward them and shooting everyone at point blank range and killing everyone in each car. So when this whole line of cars saw what was happening in front of it, the young people all abandoned the cars and went running for cover into these roadside bomb shelters that are lining the roads in the south near where all the bus stops are. So 29 young people from this music festival were smashed into the same bomb shelter Hirsh was in. They ended up coming under heavy fire. There were grenades thrown in. Hirsh's best friend Honor was standing in the doorway, picking them up and throwing them out as fast as they were coming in, which was a complete miracle and saved whoever's life was saved by Honor Shapira. Unfortunately, 3 of the hand grenades did get in and detonate in this small windowless concrete room. And then Hamas came in and shot an RPG into the room and then came in with machine guns and sprayed the room with machine gun fire. There was a lot of dust and chaos and most of those kids were dead. Then Hamas came in after the dust settled and we heard from some of the quote unquote lucky ones who were trapped under the dead bodies, who were able to tell us eyewitness accounts that Hamas said to 3 young men who were injured, but they were obviously still alive, that they should stand up by gunpoint. And one of them was Hirsh, who they all told us his left arm from the elbow down had been blown off. He had somehow tied either a bandage or a tourniquet, something they saw tied around his arm. And the 3 of them were marched out and put on a Hamas pickup truck, which we have since received video footage through CNN's Anderson Cooper. He came across this video that was dropped by a Hamas camera that was filming it. So we actually have a video of Hirsh getting onto the Hamas pickup truck at gunpoint, turning around to sit down, and that's when we can see his left arm, the stump where his arm was blown off. And that was 32 days ago. His last cell phone signal was at 10:25 in the morning, Saturday morning, October 7th. And since then, he and all of these other people have been buried alive, many layers deep in Gaza. And we have gotten a lot of love and support. But at the end of the day, those people are all still there. Nothing has happened. We have begged the Red Cross to help. All international aid and humanitarian organizations have all said that they can't get in. I don't know if it's that they can't get in or they're not pushing hard enough to get in. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that it's 32 days in and you have a 9-month-old baby ranging all the way to the 85-year-old grandmother. You have 5 different religions represented there. There are Jews, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus. And it is completely unacceptable that no one is getting these people out.
You are very, very right. And thank you for sharing that again with us. You've mentioned in interviews that this is a global humanitarian crisis. Sounded like you were heading in that direction just now. Can you go a little further? Tell us more of your thoughts on that.
Sure. As Rachel said, we know that there are 33 countries represented. Jonathan, in his introduction, talked about many of those countries. We have been screaming for 32 days at politicians, at religious leaders, at the United Nations, at humanitarian organizations, And we are yet to see a global outcry to do something about this and get these people out. We are getting good support from the United States government. We are getting supportive words from some others, but I haven't yet seen 33, excuse me, I haven't yet seen 33 prime ministers or foreign ministers locking hands, locking arms, and making a show to the world that they are serious about getting these people out. This isn't a Jewish Arab issue, an Israel Arab issue, an Israel Gaza issue. Yes, there's an Israel Gaza issue happening, but why are 50 plus Thais part of that? 12 Germans, 6 Russians. Where is the world?
Would that I had such an answer. But you're right to frame the question. I know that you and Rachel have been tireless advocates for Hirsh and for all of the hostages. Tell us a little more about that. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Who have you connected with? Who are you reaching out to next? We're going to cover a lot of like what folks can do as well in a moment, but I'll go to you with that first, please.
By 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on October 7th, when it was clear that there had been a massacre and that we could not locate Hirsh, we had a, excuse me, we had an apartment full of people rolling up their sleeves, working on whiteboards, computers and phones being worked everywhere. And from that day, we have been surrounded by an amazing team of people running a situation room out of our apartment. We have a US political track. We've been talking to senators and congressmen and congresswomen, and we've spoken to President Biden. We've spoken twice to Secretary of State Blinken, and on and on and on in the United States. That's one track. We have a global humanitarian aid track where we've had people who specialize in that space, trying to help us get help from all kinds of organizations, including the United Nations, where Rachel spoke 2 weeks ago. We have a track focused on Israel. How do we get to leaders in Israel and influence the activities and conversation in Israel? And we have a track that's focused on media. We've been really adamant since about 2 days into this. We've said, we must tell this story. At first we were hesitant to, and then we made a decision that the world must know the story of what happened to Hirsh and the hundreds of others. And those are the tracks that we've been running. We run 22 hours a day, basically. And every day we put our heads down to rest for a couple of hours. And we wonder, did we maximize the day? Did we do something today to advance the cause of getting 240 innocents released? And the answer is, we don't know.
I know you started an initiative 1 minute a day. Can you share some information on that? And we're going to put that in the chat.
So we wanted to make it really easy for people to be helpful, because we do know that a lot of people do feel compassion and do feel empathy and can put themselves in our shoes and Yael's shoes and the 238 other families' shoes. But we also wanted to make it very easy for people to do things. So the 1 minute a day and 1 minute a day initiative is just a website that you can go to. You click a button and it has you fill in your zip code, and it instantly will show you the phone numbers and emails of your local elected officials, as well as how to reach the White House in less than a minute, just to say, hi, good morning. It's day 32, and I noticed that 240 hostages are still being held underneath Gaza, and I'm not okay with it. Goodbye. That's what you have to do. So that's less than a minute. But then the next day also, so I say to people, while you're boiling your water for your coffee or your tea, that's just take that time. It's less than a minute. It's a huge mitzvah because it's really helping, share the burden of the anguish that all the families who are hostage families are going through. So we'll share that with you, or you may have it. It's super easy, and everyone that we have been telling to do it, it's now, some days it's close to 200,000 people are calling their local officials, including calling the White House, which I think has a lot of power because they track that data. So if they see, even on this call, there's almost 2,000 people. Like tomorrow, if 2,000 more people call the White House once, and again, it's 30 seconds. Hi, it's day 33. I noticed that the hostages are still buried under Gaza and I'm not okay with it. Please let the president know. Bye. It's very, very easy.
Easy action to take. Fantastic. And we are going to put that into the chat for folks to see. Before we speak with Yael a little bit, tell us a little bit more about Hirsh the person. Tell us what you miss. Tell us things that we don't know about him just by seeing this story.
Well, we think Hirsh is wonderful. And I actually think that normal people who aren't his parents also think that. He is super curious about the world. He's a listener more than a talker. He doesn't have a big ego. He's very well read. He is obsessed with anything having to do with travel and geography. He loves music festivals, and he was getting very excited. We hope it can still happen. He has been planning a trip around the world since he's a little boy, and saving money and saving money. And he has a ticket December 27th for, oh my gosh, I think we're running out of battery. He has a ticket for December 27th to take off for his around the world trip that's supposed to be at least a year, maybe 2.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's helpful to hear about what an amazing special person he is. Okay, so we're going to come back to you momentarily, but we're going to introduce Yael Alexander now. And Yael, I invite you to turn on your camera. Yael is the mother of a 19-year-old, Edan Alexander, who was taken hostage by Hamas while serving in the Israeli military on October 7th. Yael, thank you for being here with us today. I know this is very, very hard.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's really hard, actually. I thought maybe I couldn't speak because I'm very emotional today. It's 1 month. And I don't know, it's really hard.
Of course it is. Tell us about what happened to Idan, what you know. I understand you spoke with him that morning. And if it gets to be too much, you just let me know, and that's absolutely okay.
I just want to share something. Like, this is something that we've done summer 22. You see, all of us. This is Idan, his little brother Roy, my husband Adi is in New York now working, me and my daughter Mika.
Beautiful.
Like, this is us, you know, so this is a real thing. And like, I'm feeling so sad today because I don't know, it's like no one tell us nothing. Like, I know it's really, they doing a lot. Everyone we spoke with them here. I've been in DC last week. I hugged the VP. I hug all the FBI, like we saw all the senators, like everyone is like assuring us. So this is the first thing they're doing every morning, to speak about the hostages, to bring everyone home. But you know, this is my little boy. This is my son. Like, I want him. And it's so tough and it's hard. And I'm sitting in his room and I'm crying and crying. I can't believe this is our life now, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm very emotional today.
Please, there's not any reason to apologize. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Idan? Tell us about who he is.
Idan is like, he's have like the largest heart that you can ever, like, you can feel it. Like, he's very love the family. He loved to be with us. He loved spending time with us. I was a partner for all the concert. Like, we went out to see a lot of concert, like in New York City. He's funny. He's got a great sense of humor. He's got tons of friends. Like, he's coming from a big group of 9 very special individuals that all miss him and praying that he will return home. Actually spend time with us 4 weeks last August. He's been here in Tenafly with us, and it was like the greatest time ever. He's a great brother. He's got a lot of patience also for his little brother, also for Mika. She's a senior now, so they're like good friends. They're doing drives together, you know, going to restaurants and stuff. Like, he's great. Yeah, he's great, Idan. Like, he's doing a lot of like
That's just
funny
lovely.
stuff. Yeah, he's great. He's a great guy, Idan.
And it sounds like you have a special relationship, and that's really wonderful.
You know what I love with Idan? Also, on October 7th, I was in Tel Aviv at my parents' house. I was sleeping. And then suddenly when the alarm came and my dad came to my room and tell me like, Yael, we need to go to the safe room. Immediately I'm grabbing my phone and I'm texting Idan like, hi, what's going on? Like, we have alarm here in Tel Aviv. Are you okay? And the minute I'm texting him, he's writing back. Like, I see him typing like, Mom, it's crazy here, but I'm fine. I'm protected. Don't worry. And then when I texted again at the second alarm, he actually called me. I was surprised. I think he just wants to make sure that that he wants to tell me that he's protected and he's fine. Don't worry about me. That was the phone call. All the time when he was speaking with my, I'm sorry about that. When he was speaking with my husband, he was telling him all the kind of stuff that he's done over there, you know, in the army. But he was like, he was trying to protect me and not to tell everything because, you know, I'm his mom. I'm like, I can be like more worried. But I don't know, that morning, he just felt like he had to call me and say it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm happy I was at the same time zone with him and he felt that I'm with him like the whole time. After 6 days since the last call, they came people from the IDF and told us that he's been kidnapped to Gaza by Hamas and he's over there and they don't have any intel to give us. And that's it.
I know, I can see in the chat, all of our hearts are with you. I know that's very little in this moment, but I feel it sincerely and I can see that others do as well. John and Rachel, please come back and join us. Oh, I hope their power has,
Okay.
good.
Okay.
All right. Hello, I was a little concerned about your power source. You said that earlier.
We got it while we were not on.
Perfect. I'm glad.
It's great when you could just simply solve a big problem in the world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There are far too few of those. So you've specifically mentioned feeling like you're just living in an alternate universe. I think just hearing you speak today, we can all get a glimpse of what you must mean by that. How do you get through each day? What is helping you get through each day? And this is really a question for all of you.
I mean, for us, I know that, you know, our MO has been just shoot in every direction and do every single thing that comes our way. And so we're very busy in always, you know, trying to think, what have we not thought of? What could we try to do today? What about talking to this person? How about, is someone friends with the ambassador from that country? Like, how can we get to this? And, you know, we're just constantly surrounded by this team of people who've been unbelievably helpful to us, who some are friends, but some are people who, it's unbelievable, 32 days ago came and said, I know how to do political strategy, or I'm really good with marketing. I'm really good with PR. I'm really good with social media, and just came with open hearts and like the kindest souls, because, as Yael was saying, like, otherwise it's like, it's unbearable, it's just, and there are days where even all those people carrying you and dragging you when you can't carry yourself, it's not enough, like there are days where it's indescribable, because it's such intense pain on every single level. It's psychological, it's emotional, it's spiritual, and it's actually physical. It's actually physical pain.
I spend my days thinking about Hirsh and the 239 other hostages. And I think it's disheartening to feel like maybe not making progress. It's disheartening to not have world leaders responding. It's disheartening to not hear anything. But as much as that's the case, as I'm doing that and I'm having a sip of coffee or I'm sitting on my couch, I think those 240 people aren't sipping coffee and sitting on a couch. And until they are, we can't stop.
Yael, is there anything that you would like to add?
You're right. All the stuff that they are doing, we are also doing that like daily. And we have a system and we have a team and community that support us and loving us and hug us. But you know what? Since I think last week I started, like I'm praying a lot. I've been in Brooklyn Saturday night. We went to the rabbi's, it's like the Chabad. We went there to pray and to have like blessing to all the hostages and for Idan's sake. And I'm feeling this is filling me. I'm feeling very powerful because of that. And I don't know, we are doing a lot of praying now, like also my parents now in Jerusalem praying for everyone and for all the hostages. And they're doing like a big, I don't know how to call it. It's like massive praying for everyone, for each and every one. And they're doing it like daily. I see my parents and my heart, it's broke. I'm seeing them with the sad faces, but still they're fighting and they're fighting for everyone. And this is the only thing that we can do now, because no one's saying anything except that they are working and they're thinking about our loved ones and they're gonna free them. Like I'm hoping for the message, like for something every day, but I'm praying and I'm feeling it in my heart and like it's gonna happen, but when?
But when?
It's tough. It's really tough. It's tough.
Yeah. John, Rachel, one of you earlier mentioned something about the Red Cross. I'm wondering, what are you hearing from relief organizations, if anything? Are they able to share any information? Are they being helpful? Do they offer any kind of hope?
The truth is they really don't for us. As far as we kept being told that the Red Cross was not being allowed in. I think a few days ago, was it like at the end of last week, I think they were let in to take pictures of, and see some of the Gazans who were suffering, but they didn't see any of the hostages. So, there's nothing, there's no one's offering anything. It's just, it is getting disheartening with leaders, everyone who we've talked to. And I agree with Yael. It's interesting, Yael, because we, normally anyway, like I pray in the morning regularly, but I've really turned to saying like Tehillim a lot throughout the day, to say Psalms throughout the day. And we also have really turned to these, groups of crying out to God. Like we're at this point where maybe we should have realized that from the very beginning, but it's sort of like the impression is that unless we all storm the gates of heaven, like we're not going to get this done. Like we're doing everything we can on earth. So now we're also, saying like, let's come at it from every angle. And I will shout out to the Chabad community, who has been unbelievable, to everyone
Yes.
who's Hostage family, and just the most beautiful people who, and they really do give you, you know, when you're in despair, they really can lift you up. So we have very much appreciated that community.
That's
Yes, the
nice.
one thing about the Red Cross, I try to speak with them also in DC and also in New York City. Like I was like trying to do some meeting with them, and the people told us that the Hamas is really afraid of them to come in and then to get like info for the outside, but they are inside, but they are not allowed like to see and to speak and to, you know, to be the eyes for us. But I think they are getting in there and doing their thing, but they really, they're really like trying not to know too much. So, but I was like pushing all the time, like, where is the Red Cross? I want them to be there to see the hostages, to tell them someone is working for you. You are coming out. We love you. You have families. They're waiting for you. I just want someone to come to my son and look him in the eyes and tell him that, because this is my way. Like the kids know I have their back all the time, 24/7. So why I cannot send someone to my son and tell him, Idan, we love you, your mom, your dad, everyone love you and pray for you, and you're coming out. But be patient, be brave, just be strong, pray, believe in that this is something that's gonna happen. This is something that I didn't get any answer from anyone, but I understand they are in touch with them and they're there, but they cannot give us any intel about the hostages, like who is who and what's the situation there. And this is not good.
I mean, there aren't words. My heart is pounding to be speaking with all of you. And it feels like such a privilege that I have not earned. And we are all with you to the extent that we can be. I
Thank
want to
you.
make sure that we're talking to folks about what they're able to do. So I know we're going to put a lot of this into the chat, and folks online, we will be following up this with an email that has all of this information in it. So if you're not seeing it in the chat, or if you're missing it, we are seeing the questions. This will all be sent to you by virtue of signing up for this email. You will automatically be sent the follow-up materials from it. And again, this call has been recorded, so you'll be able to have that and to be able to share it as well.
I'm going to be in DC next week. Definitely.
What?
We are going to be there. We are going to be strong. We are going to, you know, march with everyone and just
Good.
be strong.
I'm going to be there too. And I'm excited to be there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yael, we'll see you there. We'll give you a hug.
Ooh.
I would imagine that those moments of community are actually pretty important for you.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, another action that people
Please.
can take is there is a real push toward people writing to the Red Cross and demanding action, you know, that's being denied or supposedly denied to the Israelis, who are the people kidnapped from Israel. And specifically the text that was suggested was to call them out and say, don't repeat the mistakes you made in the 1930s and 1940s when you failed to report to the world that Jews were being slaughtered, because they were in the camps. The Red Cross did go to see the concentration camps in the early 1940s. And so we're saying, don't make this same mistake now. You know that there are elderly people and children and wounded people. Honor your mission. The mission of the Red Cross is, you know, they have to stand by their duty to humanity, show up at the border and say, we demand to go in.
Right.
So that could be another action if people, you know, if you have another minute after you've boiled your water and already done the 1 minute a day.
If you can maybe
Yes.
make that 2 minutes.
Right, exactly.
I really don't have words to thank you. But thank you for being here, for sharing your story, for being vulnerable with us, and for letting us know how we can help. And we are going to continue to try to help.
Thank
I'd
you.
like- Thank you. I'd
you.
like to invite the CEO, Ilan Carr of the Israeli, Advisory Council to please join us. I know he has a few words.
Well, thank you, Deb, and thank you to my friend Jonathan and to all of ADL for doing this. We're in your debt. This is so important, and I join you, Deb, in your comments that our hearts are pounding, listening to these stories of what you all are going through and your bravery, and our hearts are with you. We are here to commemorate 1 month since we suffered the most horrendous massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Well, the numbers you know, but they bear repeating: 1,400 of our brothers and sisters murdered, 5,400 wounded, and over 240 of our brothers and sisters, including babies and children and the elderly, remaining in Hamas captivity. 30 days later, our grief is undiminished and our rage unsated. We will never waver in our determination to bring our hostages home. We will never forget the thousands of victims, and we will never forgive what the enemies of civilization have done to us. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you. Indeed, we will remember forever. But remembering is only part of our obligations. In the face of this crushing loss, each of us must do our part to bring the Jewish people together and to make the Jewish people and the state of Israel stronger and safer. Jewish unity is a powerful force, physically, politically, and spiritually. Now is our time to come together, and for each of us to resolve that we will do everything we can to strengthen our people, to advocate for our future, to fight anti-Semitism on our streets and in our schools and in our campuses, and make sure that we build that better world, that more decent world that our children and grandchildren so richly deserve. The ADL is an important vehicle for doing that, but you know what? Which organization you choose is far less important. What is most important is that you get engaged, that you become active, that you mobilize, and that you turn our grief into activism. To that end, I want to again thank the ADL for being a leader in this fight for the safety of our Jewish people. And on behalf of the entire Jewish community, I want to extend my deepest condolences to all of our people, and especially to the many thousands of mourners. May the memory of your loved ones be a blessing. Yehi zichram baruch, and may Hashem yinkom damam. To our many thousands of wounded, I pray that you have hachlama mehira v'refuah shlema. And to our captive brothers and sisters and children, your families, those of you here, we pray every moment that the Holy One of Israel will break their bonds, turn their darkness into light, and return each of them, please God, healthy and whole into your arms. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilan. And thank you for all that you're doing as well. I want to thank all of our panelists one more time for being here with us. And again, reiterate to folks that everything we've talked about here, all of the actions, all of the websites, many of which have been in the chat, will be emailed to you following this call, along with the link to the recording as soon as we've uploaded it. I also want to flag a couple of things. For example, you can join us next week in Washington, D.C., where we will be marching for Israel. And that's Washington, D.C., November 14th. It starts at 1 p.m. on the National Mall. I also want to encourage folks to save an empty seat at your Shabbat table for a hostage. You can find a toolkit as well as other resources and actions on NCJW's Voices for Hostages website. And we'll make sure that we share that out when we share out all of these resources. Additionally, you can always stay up to date on everything ADL on our website. That's adl.org. And you just click on the Stand with Israel banner, and it brings you all of the latest resources and tools we have to offer. Thank you to everyone for being with us today. Until next time, stay safe and be well.